Hi everyone. You thought The Karate Kid was a simple feel-good underdog story, a movie about courage, discipline, and triumph. A young boy wins, the crowd erupts, and balance is restored with one perfect crane kick. But behind the smiles, the trophies, and the cheers lies a far darker reality Hollywood never wanted you to see. More than 40 years later, the cast of The Karate Kid 1984 didn't ride off into victory. Many faced addiction, shattered careers, devastating loss, and lives quietly unraveling after the cameras stopped rolling. The heroes and villains who inspired an entire generation paid a heavy price for their fame. In 2025, their real stories are far more tragic than anything that happened in the dojo. This is the Karate Kid cast then and now, and the heartbreaking truths behind the legend. Pat Morita, Mr. Miyagi. Born on June 28, 1932 in Isleston, California, Noriyuki Pat Morita entered life already fighting to survive. As a young child, he developed spinal tuberculosis and spent nearly 9 years trapped in hospitals, confined inside a body cast, repeatedly told he might never walk again. When he was finally released at age 11, freedom didn't come. He was sent directly to a World War II internment camp, first at Gila River and later Tule Lake, to reunite with his imprisoned family. After the war, his parents opened a small restaurant in Sacramento. Pat learned to survive by entertaining customers, turning pain into humor. Then tragedy struck again when his father was killed in a hit-and-run accident, leaving Pat and his mother to rebuild their lives alone. Comedy led him to television fame on Happy Days, but nothing prepared him for the impact of Mr. Miyagi. At 52, Morita became the emotional soul of the Karate Kid. Off-screen, his life was turbulent. 3 marriages, financial strain, a devastating mudslide that destroyed his uninsured home, and his youngest daughter Tia being diagnosed with kidney disease all weighed heavily on him. Despite an Academy Award nomination, steady work remained limited. Alcohol became his quiet battle, followed by repeated rehab attempts and medical warnings. Pat Morita passed away on November 24, 2005, in Las Vegas, Nevada, at age 73 from kidney failure. Though gone, his legacy endures as the first Asian American actor ever nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Ralph Macchio, Daniel LaRusso. Born on November 4, 1961, in Huntington, New York, Ralph Macchio was just 23 when he became Daniel LaRusso, the underdog who inspired millions. But fame quickly became a cage. His youthful appearance turned into a curse. Too young for adult roles, too old for teen parts. Casting calls slowly stopped. Hollywood moved on. Through the late 1990s and early 2000s, work dried up. Small theater productions and brief TV appearances on Ugly Betty and Entourage couldn't revive the momentum. At home, he found stability by marrying his childhood sweetheart Phyllis Fierro, raising their children Julia and Daniel, and building a quiet family life. Yet privately, he struggled with self-doubt and the fear of being forgotten. By 2025, at age 63, Ralph Macchio finally experienced a long-awaited revival, acting, producing, and writing, grateful for a second chance he once believed would never come. Elizabeth Shue, Allie Mills. Born on October 6, 1963 in Wilmington, Delaware, Elizabeth Shue was just 21 when she played Allie Mills. Her warmth made her unforgettable, but her life off-screen was shaped by heartbreak. Her parents divorced when she was young, shattering her sense of security. Then, in 1988, tragedy struck when her brother William Shue, a medical student, died in a horrific accident during a family vacation. A rope swing snapped, sending him crashing onto a broken tree branch that fatally pierced him. Grief pulled her away from acting. When she returned, she faced Hollywood's deep-rooted sexism. Despite strong performances in Adventures in Babysitting and Cocktail, she was repeatedly dismissed as the pretty girl next door. Even her Oscar-nominated role in Leaving Las Vegas couldn't change the industry's perception. By 2025, at 61, Elizabeth Shue worked selectively, focusing on family, creative balance, and honoring the brothers she never stopped mourning. William Zabka, Johnny Lawrence. Born on October 20th, 1965 in New York City, William Zabka was just 18 years old when he stepped into the role of Johnny Lawrence, the cold-eyed Cobra Kai champion who instantly became one of the most hated villains of the 1980s. The performance was so convincing that fans stopped seeing the actor and only saw the bully. Strangers mocked him in public, confronted him, and treated him as if Johnny Lawrence were real. Casting directors weren't any kinder. Hollywood locked Zabka into the villain box, offering shallow roles that all felt the same. By the mid-1990s, his acting career was hanging by a thread. Instead of waiting for calls that never came, Zabka reinvented himself behind the camera, teaching himself screenwriting and directing just to survive creatively. His short film, Most, earned an Academy Award nomination in 2004, yet mainstream recognition still refused to follow. By 2025, at 59, William Zabka continues acting, writing, and producing, living proof that even Hollywood villains deserve redemption. Martin Kove, John Kreese. Born on March 6, 1946 in Brooklyn, New York, Martin Kove was 38 years old when he transformed into the ruthless John Kreese, the terrifying Cobra Kai sensei whose no-mercy philosophy became legendary. His cold stare and brutal intensity made Kreese one of the most unforgettable villains of the 1980s. But while the role elevated his fame, it quietly destroyed his personal life. The long filming schedules, constant travel, and pressure to stay relevant fractured his marriage, leaving him emotionally unanchored. As the 1980s faded, Hollywood's attention moved on, but Kove refused to stop. He worked non-stop, accepting nearly every role offered, not out of ambition, but fear. Fear that slowing down meant disappearing. The workaholism masked a growing loneliness as aging began to limit the physical roles he once thrived on. By 2025, at 79, Martin Kove lives mostly alone, sustaining himself through conventions and finally reprising John Kreese, a late-life revival after decades spent in the shadows. Ron Thomas, Bobby Brown. Born on November 15, 1961 in Reno, Nevada, Ron Thomas brought rare compassion to Bobby Brown, the only member of Cobra Kai who showed remorse, empathy, and inner conflict. His performance hinted at depth far beyond the brutal dojo, and many believed it would lead to a long Hollywood career. But behind the scenes, the industry took a heavy toll. Constant auditions, rejection, and the pressure to compete in an unforgiving system slowly drained him emotionally. Unlike many of his co-stars, Thomas made a decision few actors dare to make. He walked away. Rather than chase fame that no longer felt fulfilling, he rebuilt his life with discipline and purpose. He returned to school, studied law, trained as a martial arts instructor, and chose stability over spotlight. By 2025, at 64, Ron Thomas lives a quiet, grounded life, far from Hollywood chaos, proving that sometimes the bravest victory is knowing when to step away. Rob Garrison, Tommy. Born on January 23, 1960 in Wheeling, West Virginia, Rob Garrison delivered one iconic line that defined a generation. As work slowed, kidney and liver disease quietly weakened him. In 2019, he returned for Cobra Kai Season 2, pushing through pain for one final goodbye. He passed away later that year at age 59. Chad McQueen, Dutch. Born on December 28, 1960 in Los Angeles, California, Chad McQueen lived in the shadow of his legendary father. Racing became his escape until a devastating crash in 2006 left him comatose and ended his career. Years of injuries took their toll. Chad McQueen passed away on September 11, 2024 at age 63. Cobra Kai later honored his legacy. Randy Heller, Lucille LaRusso. Born on June 10, 1947 in Brooklyn, New York, Randy Heller became one of cinema's most beloved movie mothers. Yet Hollywood slowly sidelined her. In 1999, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and endured a double mastectomy and chemotherapy while continuing to perform. By 2025, at 78, she lives quietly, respected but under-recognized. Frances Bay, the kindly woman. Born on January 23, 1919 in Manville, Alberta, Canada, Frances Bay lost her son, her leg, and her husband, yet returned to acting with extraordinary resilience. She passed away in 2011 at age 92, remembered for warmth and perseverance. 40 years later, The Karate Kid still inspires millions, but the real battles began after the final bell rang. These weren't just characters, they were real people facing real pain long after the camera stopped. If their stories moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more hidden truths behind Hollywood legends. Thanks for watching.